Let me ask you a question. What's the most time-consuming part when painting an army? What's the part of the process that, if you eliminate it, you would have the time spent on a model? I will try to answer that question today. Hello fellow haters of the blue, and welcome to my channel, and welcome to the first video about painting my Eldar army. As you might know, for my Warhammer challenge for 2025, I decided to start playing Warhammer again, and for that I need armies. The release of the much awaited Plastic Aspect Warriors and Phoenix Lords is the final push I needed to start my childhood dream army. But painting an army is not a small feat, and when facing such a mammoth task, efficiency is very important. So let's go back to our initial question. For me, the answer to that question is highlights. In the past, I've done armies limiting myself to a single highlight all across, but I decided to try and do an army where I don't do a single highlight. For this, I'm going to use every single trick in the book. Color theory, airbrush, oils, dry brushing, contrast paints, everything. But before we start, let me talk to you about today's video sponsor, Skillshare. Choosing a great color palette for your new army or for your new display project is probably the most important part of a great end result, and I'm going to learn how to choose an incredible color palette with Skillshare. Skillshare is the largest online learning community full of creatives with thousands of classes led by industry experts across film, illustration, design, freelance, productivity, and more. Skillshare can help you take your career, skills, hobbies, passions, or side hustles to the next level. For example, with the class Palette Hunting, Finding and Crafting Impactful Color Palettes by Shahan Dantes. Crafting great color palettes is a crucial part of the creative process because a great color palette can elevate your work, guide the viewer around the piece, reinforce themes, and evoke emotions. In this class, you will learn about various color palette types, using the Palette Finder tool as a starting point, experimenting with personal color preferences, and where you can find color inspiration. This new year, invest in yourself and starting a learning journey on Skillshare to explore your creativity and find new passions. The first 500 people to use my link in the description will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. Get started today. So, are you ready? Let's get cracking. So, as you can see, we're starting from a base coat of Wraithbone spray, and the first step is going to be to use the airbrush, which is very rare on me, but this is how I want to paint. I want efficiency over anything else. And I'm using Gamer Warlord Purple thinned down with airbrush thinner in about a 1:1. And I want to hit the lower parts of the miniature, just the lower facing bits. Sort of a reverse zenithal. Well, not sort of, it's a reverse zenithal. With the pink done, we're going to now do the white, and for that, the only choice is Tamiya white, the best white for airbrush ever, and just thin it down about 50-50 again with the X20A thinner. We are just going to apply a zenithal with this, maybe pick up a couple areas that you want to stand out, but mostly it's just a zenithal. You want pure white on the very upward facing surfaces, and the bright pink on the lower facing surfaces. And now we have our zenithal done and our hands dirty. Use gloves, don't be as an idiot as I am. I'm going to do a recess shade. This step might not be necessary considering we are going to use express paints on top, but I think it really adds a lot of depth, especially on the yellow, and helps define a lot of the details. I recommend you use the same kind of magenta, so an equivalent to this would be a PR 122. If you're not used to oil paint, PR means pigment red, 122 or 122 is the number of the pigment, which is the magenta pigment. I don't have that paint, and because I am a fancy boy, I'm going to use Cobalt Violet. Don't recommend you do this, get the cheaper one, but if you have Cobalt, it's pretty good. And now I'm just going to pick that paint using a fast dry thinner. But you can just use white spirit. This is the sort of consistency I am going for. I'm just going to start placing this should wick into most of the details pretty easy. We really don't need any kind of protection for our paint. Our acrylics are fully dry and they shouldn't affect in the slideless to the paint underneath. This is more or less what we want. A nicely defined miniature with the edges and all of it like nicely picked out. All of the recesses and all of the shapes well defined. Once we are done with that, we need to leave that to dry for about an hour or so, and then we will go and do all the cleanup. What I'm going to do is take an old brush. This is part of my brushes for oils and enamels. And I'm just going to dip it into some white spirit or odorless thinners. And I'm going to take the excess off. And with that very little paint, we can go around and clean all of the excess. Sample here, you can see how I can go back and make that disappear. I want these guys to be as clean as possible, but I'm basically just going to concentrate most of my efforts in the viewing angle, so from the front and stuff like that. The back is less important, although I'm going to take care of that as well, obviously. The key is that you are very careful with how much thinner you have on your brush. Very little does a lot. You basically want your brush dry, not like dripping wet, because if it is dripping wet, you're going to cause a mess. On the backside, we could use a sponge, a dry one, quite effectively. Just a little note, because I had to test it out, I went to buy the magenta paint, the magenta paint that I was talking about, the PR122. This doesn't work. It's way too pink. I don't like it. Don't buy it. While I was there, this caught my eye, which is another magenta. It's the PV19 permanent magenta, and this is exactly the color we want. This is magnificent, but be advised, if you want to use this, which is a great idea, you have to gloss varnish your models before you do, because if you don't, the whole model is going to turn pink when you try to remove the paint. It's very, very staining. Gloss varnish, apply this, clean, matte varnish. Here is the model after all of the cleanup and looks incredible. I also took the time to do all of the black base coats off camera, and for that I used Black Legion Contrast from Citadel, but you don't have to use it. Any black will do. I just like how fluid Black Legion is and how easy it is to apply, but any black will do. Now we have to do a dry brush using white, and for that I'm going to use my ARTIFY DRYBRUSH SET. It's an amazing piece of kit, comes with 5 dry brushes, and it's my favorite dry brush kit in the market. Why? Well, because it costs about a third of the Artis Opus ones, and they are just as good. You will find an affiliate link for them in the description. The dry brush, we want very, very light dry brush, just picking up the edges. You see, just like that, just grabbing the edges, especially on the black details, because we're going to apply another layer on top to tone those highlights down, but we need the minimum amount, otherwise it's going to look gray or blue-gray instead of the black that we want. But we need to pick up those details, otherwise they're going to look too dark. Also picking up all of the model with this, very lightly, including all of the pieces of cloth, all of the belts, everything. Going to start with the orange, and for that I'm going to use Express Chameleon Orange. This is a paint that I designed myself, and obviously I made it perfect for my needs, which is a very, very bright orange. We just want to pick the armor with this, and I'm going to try and be careful not to pick up any other details. If it's a metallic detail, I don't care, but it's something like the tassels or the pieces of cloth that they have hanging from the waist. All of those things I want to keep with the base color. Just look at how bright orange and yellowy, intensely saturated this is. It's one of my favorite Express paints. I'm so glad they did it, just as I asked for. So, this is perfect for fire dragons. As I mentioned, they are my favorite aspect warriors. I think it shows. Now it's time to do the yellow, and I'm going to do a 1-to-1 mix of the Red Note Yellow and Express Medium. Uganda Yellow is also a really good option for this. I just want, for these models, a consistent finish, and the Ugandan has a satin finish compared to the Ultra Matte of the Express, so I chose that just for that reason. Although, again, it really doesn't matter that much. The yellow over the pink is absolutely stunning. For the leather, we're going to use Muddy Ground from Express. For the black, we're going to use Black Lotus. Here we just want a very thin layer, so basically just tinting those edge highlights we picked with the dry brush in a colder tone and making them a little bit darker. But this is going to give us something that is quite close to the heavy metal look with no effort. It's obviously not going to be the same, but it's enough for me at the very least. And for the dark red details, we're going to use a mix of 3 parts Blood Angels Red and 1 part Hospitalier Black from Express. I'm also applying that on these bits here. This is where that dry brush really shines, because we have those edges nicely peeked out, creating an edge highlight effect that is really cool. Makes the model look like you spent way more time than you really did painting them. I'm going to pick up all of the metallic areas using Runelord Brass. This is a super cool color. It has a really particular tone that, you know, it just looks fantastic on the fire dragons with the warm color scheme. To shade all of those details, I'm going to use a 1-to-1 mix of strong tone and red tone to give it, you know, even warmer and, yeah, reddish tone to those metal bits. The addition of the red is very, very subtle, so if you don't have it, you don't have to use it. I just think it's a cool touch. And finally, as the last step, is all of the gems and the eyes, and for that I'm going to use Achillean Green. I know the eyes on the box art are red. I personally don't like that look and very much prefer to use Achillean Green as a contrast color on all of the gem-like details, including the eyes. And you can most definitely highlight the gems and stuff like that to make them look extra. I will certainly will, because that's the kind of horrible person I am. But you don't need to. That's it. I am very pleased with how my first unit has come out. The process was very simple and required no effort whatsoever. With a method similar to this, I can get the unit like this one painted in a couple relaxed sessions or an intense one during the weekend, which is perfect for me. I'm also going to start painting my Phoenix lots for my Patreon exclusive videos starting in February with Fuegan. Thank you for watching this video, and don't forget that if you like my videos and want to help me make them, you can follow me on social media. You have the links to all my social media in the description below and in the pinned comment of this video. Share and like this video, but most importantly, there is Patreon and channel members. Patrons and members allow me to do all the cool videos that I want to make, and most importantly, they allow me to keep releasing videos for free here on YouTube. Perks include access to an amazing Discord community full of lovely people, access to many more Patreon exclusive videos, and now also private one-on-one online tutorings. helped me enjoy the list of the coolest persons in the planet, including Chase, Morikai, William Ashcroft, Loic Brumfaut, Emilio Salas, Max Krippner, J.H., Alessandro Laperna, Sebastian A., Oscar Zerain Bebia, Katze Meyers, Nick Warner, Luke Kami 450, Jorge Pardo Serrano, Stefan Weider, MC 1998, 9 Wall 1 Horses, Carol Hoshikawa, Francesco Gambino, Killaman 21, painted by Tainted, La Farrell, Darkroom, Valentin Bedell, Kevin Marshall, Bethet, Adam Carroll, Jeven Drombava, Tristan Lennard, Mailbox 2112, Hyde Anderson, Carl Landsberg, Michelle Borghi, Betty Osford, Jason Weber, CS Neon 2000, JS, Rob, Nicholas Brownie, Big Beer 83, Dare Dare, Kim Bengston, Martin Gutha, Alan Hansen, Rob Hassal, Stephen K, Arnau J, Emerald Stewart, Anthony Panullo, Tomato A, Rob Jewitt, Daniel McCormack Smell, Dave Griffiths, Victor, Corey Tickler, Rugubus Camcron, Liran Shohan, Soy CFE, 3Gs, Marco Paraznik, James Coplin, Roger Thomas, Wandering Paria, Kim Tango, Jay Huber, Nicholas Acebar, Benjelin, Emily Queen of Sloth, Nicolas Davis, Agom David, Pablo Cuesta, Benjamin Barber, Pumpkin Hill, Chris Black, Jacob, Mateusz Paviuk, Andrei Michensko, Jay Staines, Stefan Zimmerman, Tom, Martin Rebura, Shual, Matt Wallis, Robert Macmillan, Hendricks, Chester Ross, Adam Foots, Tyler Hughes, Chris G, Orman Gaming, Spacey Joe, Mark Watson, Hamish Donald, Matthew Lang, Stavros Stavro, Mark Regueira, Romainas Miniatura, Just Rex, Dr. Cathaber, Angelo Alex Sous, Des, Giuseppe Nicola Ancona, Antoine Darvon, Mark Belencoop, Felix Franke, Aaron Bernstein, Daniel Ramin, Bowsley, Terry Denham, Planche, Biom, Howard Hotville, Stephanie Oll, Stephen Rockford, Royal Nilsson, Oscar Jonathan Thornberg, Nick Nguyen, Dan Mako Cristalios, Bartosz Padensky, Kevin Mian, Darcy Farran, Atius Maximus, Kavi Mota, Adam Thaxton, Garrett Smith, Heather Amster, Mark Jarvis, Fergal, Josh Simpson, Christoph Moret, GeForce, Dr. B, Rena Lindemann, Kieran Murther, Andrew Dyer, and Kevin Sulerson. As for me, I will catch you in the next one. Bye!